Okay, yeah, it looks like the meeting is kind of, our participants are, pretty solid here at 14. So yeah, let's get going with introductions here. As most of you know, my name is Brian Hacker. I'm a planner with the West Region at the City of Chicago's Department of Planning and Development. And I'll hand it over to our corridor manager, Rodney Brown. You go next.
Thank you, Brian. So hello, everybody. Thank you for coming this afternoon. Again, my name is Rodney Brown. I am the Executive Director for New Covenant CDC and also a member of the Executive Committee for NLCCC. And I will pass it over to Richard Townsend.
Good afternoon. I'm Richard Townsend, Executive Director of Lawndale Christian Development Corporation, community resident and a member of the North Lawndale Homeowners Association, as well as the co-chair of the Housing Subcommittee of NLCCC. I will pass it to the best alderman in the city of Chicago, Michael Scott Jr.
Thank you, Richard. Alderman Michael Scott Jr., 24th Ward, and community resident and good friend to Richard Townsend, brother. He's a funny guy. And with that, I'm gonna send it over to Deborah Wesley Freeman.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm Deborah Wesley. I dropped the Freeman a while back, but that's all right. That's
Sorry, then I take it back.
But anyway, I'm the president of Sinai Community Institute, executive vice president of community outreach for Sinai Chicago, and a member of the North Lawndale CCC. And that's it. Who else? Am I supposed to pass it to somebody?
Yes.
Let me get the list. I see Jim Harbor.
Yes, thank you, Deborah. My name is Jim Harbin. I'm a deputy commissioner here with the Department of Planning and Development and manage the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund Small Grant Program. And I'm going to pass it over to Kristen Freeman.
Good afternoon. This is Kristen Freeman with Project Forward.
You're going to pass it to Christian.
How about we'll give it off to Caroline Rendon.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Caroline Rendon with MISC Chicago. I get to work with the corridor manager team, and I'm here to present on a separate matter relating to the roundtables and surveys. We'll talk about that later. And I will pass it to Rochelle Jackson.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rochelle Jackson with the Juvenile Protective Association. I am the chair of the Transportation Committee for NLCCC and a lifelong resident of North Lawndale. I'll pass it on to Obai Reed.
Thank you, Rochelle. Hello, everyone. My name is Obai Olatunji Obai Reed. I am the founding president and CEO of the Equiticity Racial Equity Movement, a resident of North Lawndale, and a member of the NLCCC Transportation Committee. I'll pass it over to Gustavo.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gustavo Stares, manager of marketing and outreach with National Main Street Center, and we are one of the technical assistance providers for the program. I will pass it along to Myra.
Good afternoon. I am Myra Sampson, the CEO and the principal of CCA Academy, and happy to be joining you today.
Yeah, and as y'all probably noticed, Myra's a new addition to the group today. So Myra, thank you so much for joining us, and it's a pleasure to have you be part of the Roundtable group, and looking forward to you being a contributor to it as we move forward. So yeah, thanks.
And has James Brooks been introduced? If not, I'll pass it to him. Thank you.
Hi, James Brooks. I'm a pastor in the community at Harmony Church. I also serve at Lawndale Christian Health Center. And then I'm a resident on the best block in North Lawndale. So, and that's Millard. So, all right. I don't know. Is that it, Brian?
No, Britt, last but not least.
Britt? Okay.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Britt Savage, principal of Structure Group. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I think that's everyone on the list here. So yeah, thanks. It's good to kind of get a refresh here of everyone who's involved. We got our agenda up here today. It's kind of light, but should be informative. So first off, we've got Caroline who's going to talk about the survey that we're going to be distributing soon. So without any further ado, you're up, Caroline.
Thanks, Brian. I will be very quick. We've been meeting in roundtables in North Lawndale and in other neighborhoods for a year and a half, going on 2 years now. And especially with the RFP kind of behind us, that whole process, it's a good time to sort of step back and reflect a little bit on how the roundtables are serving the neighborhood, are effective as a means for community outreach and engagement in the Invest Southwest initiative. And so the first step in sort of evaluating how well this is working is a distribution of a survey. And that will, I will provide the links to that survey. It's online. Towards the end of this meeting, I'll pop them in the chat. I also have paper versions if anyone feels like some people who might benefit from doing this on paper as opposed to online. But really the survey is just 5-10 minutes asking you sort of what's working about the roundtables, what's not working, how can we commit to working on these together to make sure that they continue to be a good forum for public engagement and just an effective way to communicate. So this is just your heads up that survey is coming. Like I said, I'll put it in the chat. Brian will follow up via email afterwards with those links as well. And please do reach out. I'll share my contact information if you want paper copies of any of those, English and Spanish. That's all I've got, unless there are questions.
Cool, thanks, Caroline. Any questions about this? We'll be sure to get the link out, and I'll send it out in my the follow-up email that I always send around to the entire group. That's got the the slides from the monthly presentation and the link to the video. Okay, I just asked, go easy on me, all right? No, kidding. We're look forward to getting your feedback on the roundtables and how we can improve them. Okay, Jim Harbin is here to talk with us about the Tiff Purchase Rehab program. So yeah, Jim, take it away.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Brian. Can you go to the next slide? So, and Rodney and Alderman, I've got a chance to kind of run this program by you guys once before. But this is something that we are going to not only share today, but I think it's worth, making sure that even when we come back into full swing with the roundtable, that we share this even with the larger stakeholders. This is a program that I think is incredibly timely, given that, to Caroline's point, we're at a point where the RPs now are in the process of doing their soft landing. And there is going to be an inflection point at that point in terms of where we put our focus. And part of what we are trying to do here at the Department of Planning is certainly do those catalytic type of projects that the RPs certainly represent. But at the same time, we're also looking at the smaller projects through our Small Business Improvement Fund and through the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund, where we help support small businesses. But historically, there has not been a tool to help address both residential redevelopment at a smaller level, along with commercial development. And we had a tool that was literally on the book since 2011 called the Tiff Purchase Rehab that was designed to help developers and investors not only acquire multi-family buildings, but also help to renovate those buildings and offer support based on one's ability to commit to affordability. So this chart here looks a little complicated, but we're going to make it simple. What the program was designed to do was to attract affordability. And that affordability in this case meant that the renters that it was looking to attract were at least at 50% of the average median income for the Chicagoland area. And as a result of committing either 30, 40, or 50% of the units that you were targeting with your project, and with a threshold that the renovation that you were about to embark on was at least covered $25,000 per unit, then what the city was prepared to do was to offer and match either that 30, 40, or 50% assistance in terms of not only, and when we say total project cost, not just the renovation, but also the acquisition. And as a result of those two pieces, the renovation and the acquisition, if there was a commitment of 30 or 40 or 50%, the city would come in and match that. And part of the triggers for this particular program was that it had to be 6 units. And what's interesting about that particular requirement is that those 6 units didn't have to be in the same place. It could have been iterations of 6 as long as they were in a 2-block area. In other words, you could have a 3-unit on one block and another 3-unit on another block, and that would trigger the program. And it could be any iteration of that 6, 2, 2, and 2, 1 and 5. You get the idea. But that commitment needed to be 15 years. Now, the Department of Housing, and I work very closely with a gentleman many of you guys know, Will Edwards. Our 2 commissioners, Navarra and Cox, asked us to put our heads together and see if this program was worth tweaking in order to capture some of the work that we've been doing along the Invest South and West corridors that could help incorporate some of the mixed use developments that were laying and languishing along the corridors vacant and not being renovated. Next slide, Brian. So as a result of going through City Council in June of this year, we've tweaked the program. And now, if you look at the same chart, the 50% AMI has now grown to 80% AMI, which means that the program now allows for still that affordability, but also make it more attractive for developers. The 30, 40, and 50% requirement remain the same, but if you look at the minimum required per unit, that has now been reduced from 25,000 to 10,000 per unit. We think that helps support not only what we know in terms of what project managers and developers are capable of doing with this number, but it also makes the entry point for local developers to participate in this program. And you can see that the assistance that the city was offering and did offer back in 2011 remained the same. So with 30 or 40, 50% commitment came our 30 or 40 and 50% assistance. But the number of units have now been reduced from 6 to 5. We saw more iterations of 5-unit buildings where there was commercial storefront than there was 6. And as a result, we tweaked that number. We also tweaked the affordability period, which gave an opportunity for investors and developers to readjust after 10 years, given where the market is at. Next slide. So what are the changes? Well, we think a few of these changes are pretty significant. Used to be that the properties needed to be vacant. Now we are allowing those properties to be partially occupied as long as there was that affordability commitment. It used to be only residential spaces. Now we are allowing for commercial to be a part of this program. We still want to make sure there are no bad actors, so every applicant will go through a scofflaw check. But it used to be that this program was triggered by a transaction. In other words, there had to be a purchase in order to really have this program become live. We have, through our research, realized that there were many existing owners along the corridors who had these type of building profiles, who as a result of being the owner, wasn't able to tap into this program. We have subsequently tweaked that, and now existing owners can participate as well. And the threshold has been reduced from 25,000 per unit to 10,000 per unit. Next slide. So the old profile was a building like this, which was closed back in 2018 at 521 North Holman. If you look at the bottom bullet, that total project cost with the acquisition and the rehab was about $1 million. And as a result, of that particular investor committing on this 8-unit building, committing 3 of those units to affordability or 40%, it actually triggered the city to help support that with $400,000 of assistance. And what really got housing and planning excited is that when we looked at the numbers and we looked at the city investing $400,000 in this community, leveraged and attracted an additional $600,000 to the project and to the community. Yep, this is something that we wanted to duplicate all day long across many communities across Chicago. Next slide. So many of you know this. Our city is peppered with these type of projects where you have the residential units at the top and the commercial units at the bottom. And there has not been up to this point, no tool to really help support these type of profiles. Usually, even if Tiff addressed the commercial and the residential threshold had to be north of 50 units before it got triggered. Now we have it where it is triggered by only 5 units. And what do I mean when I say it can address the commercial? I mean, it can address the commercial in its entirety. It's not necessarily been designed for you to white box a particular commercial unit, even though the program accounts for that. But if you've got tenants involved, you've got existing tenants there, we can do the complete renovation with this program to that tenant specification. Next slide. So again, the comparison I think is compelling. It used to be the properties needed to be vacant. They needed to be only residential. It only targeted new owners. There was a $25,000 threshold. The AMI, or the average median income, had to be 50%, and you had to commit to that for 15 years. Now, there's only a 10-year commitment. And now that AMI is at 80% with a threshold of $10,000. And now it doesn't just target new owners. Existing owners in our communities now can tap into this program, and it could be used to renovate both the commercial and the residential parts of these buildings. And even if your building is partially occupied, where you couldn't before, now you still can tap into this program. And what we hope for is that this program now allows some of those mixed-use buildings that everybody on this call has seen that has been laying there vacant. And we think for a reason. We think there was no real tool to tap into to really incentivize developers and investors to go to bat and tap into renovating these type of profiles. We think now we've got a tool to do so. And so what we want to have happen in 2022 particularly is to start demonstrating literally whether we were right or wrong, and if this is indeed a tool that can help revitalize some of our corridors, particularly the commercial corridors. And I know Ogden Avenue is challenged compared to some of the other corridors across the Invest South and West communities, but this is not just limited to the Invest Southwest corridor of Ogden Avenue. You know, I think about 16th Street, I think about Roosevelt, and where these buildings literally exist and have been laying dormant for years. This program is designed for those. So this group, you are one of the first to kind of hear about this tweak program. And what we hope is that the word gets out and that we attract local investors, local men and women in the communities who have the capacity to do this type of work to get into this game and utilize this program. And with that, I open it up to questions and hope that you guys engage me in terms of knowing more about this program.
So Jim, quick question. Regarding could this program be incorporated with the NOF large program? Because I know that the Commissioner Cox had mentioned this, back in February, that the focus was going to shift on mixed use commercial with residential. So obviously the NOF large would address the multiple retail storefronts, but could this be used in conjunction to facilitate the residential rehab for the apartments above?
Yeah, and I hear your question, Britt. My immediate gut reaction was, why would it need to? The program is designed to help support this type of work. What it can do, you use the word NOF large. Right. It certainly can be used with NOF small. And I say this to say this, you might be renovating this property here at 3425 West Chicago Avenue and don't have tenants yet. And you just want to get it ready. You want to clean it up, make sure that it's got new piping, new electrical, et cetera, and just white box it till the tenant shows up. But if that tenant is there doing the renovation through this program, we can support the full build out to that tenant's specifications. If that tenant is not there by the time you get finished with this program, and they show up a year and a half, 2 years later, those tenants are eligible for NOF.
Okay, but like for some of your larger wraparound buildings where you have like 5 to probably 8 storefronts that typically, the $250,000 grant might not be, enough at that time. So you might have to go to large. Are you saying that the tenants apply individually for the commercial spaces?
Yes. And what I'm also saying is through this program, we can look at all 5 or 6 or 7 of those commercial storefronts at the time that this program is triggered. So you're asking good questions. And of course, the devil is always in the details. But I think what I don't want to get lost, Britt, in this conversation is that we can do both with this program.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Jim, unless I missed it, is there contact information if somebody's interested in getting more details on this?
Absolutely. We certainly have a section on the city's website. If you just type in Tiff Purchase Rehab. If somebody wants to take a deeper dive in this, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll leave my information in the chat. Happy to walk you through this. I would also suggest that if there's a targeted project out there, to reach out to Alderman Scott, and he can also, signal in terms of, because again, we think that this is going to have an impact.
Yes, absolutely.
And so and what we want to do is to make sure that if people are going to reach for this program and they're going to start changing the landscape of these corridors, we want to make sure it's done with as much transparency as possible. And so we're going to be requesting and asking for potential developers to tap into the Alderman's office as well, and just socialize what they're looking to do so it can align with what you guys want to do within the community.
Absolutely. Great.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Jim, for joining us today. I mean, we spend a lot of time in these meetings talking about projects that are new and are going to be, ground up construction, type of projects. But, I think everyone here, is seeing numerous examples of buildings like what you're showing here that could, use this investment and, be brought back kind of online to be like active and, contributing to the community, whether it's on Ogden Avenue or, like you said, corridors like 16th Street or Roosevelt. So yeah, this is a really relevant and helpful information here.
Hey Brian. Hey Brian, this is Zobai I just want to see, may I just talk to the gentleman about a project we're working on and see is this program a potential fit for us?
Yeah, please go ahead and jump in. We got plenty of time.
Hey, Jim, thank you for that. My name is Obai. I'm with Equiticity, and we're developing a concept known as the Go Hub, and several, well, let's see, at least one of our partners is here, Rochelle Jackson. Well, NLCCC is a partner with us, and there may be others on this call. The Go Hub is a mobility hub that is targeting Black and brown people living in a low to moderate income neighborhood with severe transportation inequities. It takes the traditional mobility hub model of concentrating infrastructure and mobility devices together in a tight geography, like at a parking lot or on an intersection, and it marries with it software. We call the infrastructure and the devices hardware. We call the socialization around the act of mobility software. So it marries the hardware and the software together, and it uses a physical building as the point in which these two elements come together. The physical building is important because, as you all know, a lot of the barriers around expanding our mobility in a neighborhood like North Lawndale is impacted by trauma. And we're unable to address that trauma without some safe, protected space to do so. And that physical building gives us the opportunity to do that. We have the explicit support of Gia and Maurice. We have about 7 confirmed partners here in North Lawndale. We also have the support of the alderman who's on this call. Thank you, Alderman, for that letter of support. So I'm just wondering, is this program potentially something that we could use to acquire a building that'll house the Go Hub? And I'm confident that this is probably not a conversation we want to get too deep into right now. Should it be helpful, I'm happy to connect with you offline as well.
Yeah, so thank you for that question. You know, I think the short answer is I don't know. Without kind of seeing the profile, we're chasing a profile that you're looking at on the screen right now. And the first question that I would ask, and again, this is just so everybody can understand kind of where I'm going, is how many residential units does this building have? And if the answer is 5 or more, yeah, we want to talk about that project regarding this program. But let me use this opportunity to say something else. I think what you just did is really what we're after, period. In other words, you have a project, you have specific programming, you may not even fit this program. Mm-hmm. So, and what we don't want to do, and we certainly don't want to see, is people trying to mold a particular address into a particular program. What we would prefer is that you've done what you've done in terms of understanding what your project is. You've socialized it with the community and with the local alderman, and you bring it to us and let us help better understand what you have and see if there's another tool to kind of fit what you're trying to do. In other words, all projects don't need a screwdriver. Yep. We need to better understand what the project is because we may not have another tool in our toolbox to help support you. Does that make sense?
Good, sir. What time can we meet tomorrow?
Well, I left my information in the chat. So please reach out to me with an email and we'll work out something in terms of getting on the calendar.
I'll see you at 10 o'clock. Thank you. I appreciate it, brother.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to comment, ask a question before we wrap up this item? Okay. Well, Jim, it seems like, yeah, we can cut you loose here. Hang out, more than welcome to. But yeah, thanks again for coming and presenting on this. It's to the tool reference. I mean, it's another one that we've got to apply in North Lawndale and on the west side, in an area where I think there's a lot of need for investment like this.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right. So just at the, I don't have any additional slides here, but just at the end, I wanted to touch on a few projects and just kind of give some updates, particularly the, Altenheim line, AKA Lawndale line, planning study that we have currently underway, in coordination with CDOT, with assistance from a consultant team led by Skidmore, Owings and Merrill. Hopefully, I know some of you have had a chance to come to our meetings. We've had 2 public meetings to date, and we're on a pretty tight timeline here for this project. So we've got our 3rd meeting coming up a week from Thursday on December 2nd. It's going to be a virtual meeting held from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And I need to work with our communications team to get the Zoom registration link set up, but I'm actually going to work on that as soon as we're done with this meeting. So I can share that in the email that I send around to all the attendees and everyone who's on the RSVP list for the monthly roundtable meetings. So you'll get a link that will allow you to register, and you'll get a unique Zoom link that'll be emailed to the address that you register with. And that'll allow you to log into that meeting on the 2nd. The way we've been doing it, I have a lot of respect and faith in, the North Lawndale, stakeholders and residents who've joined our meetings. So I generally, try to allow kind of everyone to speak instead of keeping folks restricted to asking questions in the chat. So I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. But if anything, I always make sure that everyone who's a member of the roundtable is panelists, so you can speak, more or less anytime you want. But the goal is to allow everybody to just do that, because people are generally very respectful in the meetings that we've had around this, and it's can't thank everyone enough for keeping that really civil tone and keeping the discussion, relevant to the project. So it's been great so far. And yeah, this will be the last meeting before we, wrap up the project and deliver a, final draft of the plan, which I believe is going to go before Plan Commission for their review, so it can be adopted, which is a good thing. So in this meeting, we're going to be presenting development concepts, because as just to make sure everyone's on the same page and caught up, this project is a study to look at the elevated rail line itself as a potential for future open space and transportation amenity for cyclists and pedestrians. But we also see that it's a potential economic development opportunity, with a huge investment in infrastructure and recreational amenity, that there's an opportunity to leverage that for equitable development in the community. So we're going to be looking at opportunity sites and looking at a market analysis to see what's feasible down the road. And then the 3rd major aspect of that we spent plenty of time discussing is anti-displacement strategies. So to make sure that folks living in the community are not negatively impacted in terms of being displaced from their homes, and then also too how future investment can retain affordability in North Lawndale. So the fact that the city owns a lot of land, the Cook County Land Bank owns a lot of land in the area, gives us a good leverage to enact policies around anti-displacement and to encourage affordability. So we're in a kind of a unique situation here in terms of having an impact on that issue. So I encourage you all to come, and to that we've been, in addition to having like open Q&A, we've also been doing live polling. So folks can weigh in on like what you're seeing on the screen, the things that we're presenting, these different options, like what are your preferences, so you can vote on it. So I will get the information out to everyone. We're hoping to have a flyer created, I should be able to distribute tomorrow. and Rodney. I'm not sure. I know Jesse's kind of been away from things, lately, so I'm not sure when he's returning, but I'll get that over to you.
We'll actually be back tomorrow.
Okay. So I'm gonna get a flyer over to you and Jesse, and if you guys want, I can get those printed out. I get you a number of hard copies so you can distribute in the community to help get the word out. But encourage everyone else here too to distribute it to social networks and email lists that you might have. Obviously, I know NLCCC has a very large email list that is a great resource too. So just when that goes out tomorrow, I'll just ask you to help us get the word out, please.
Okay.
And then I also wanted to give a brief update as well on the Lawndale Redefined development project that was selected for the RFP on Ogden Avenue. Myself and other staff members of DPD, as well as other relevant departments too, that help review new development proposals. We've been working with them to move the project ahead, and right now discussing the essentially lining up these several public funding sources that we're trying to harness to help fund this project, and just working with that team to kind of get all of these lined up so we're able to get the financing in place and continue to move the project ahead. So I think just in general, it's moving along well. There's kind of nothing to report sort of in terms of like a community meeting situation or anything like that, in addition to what we've already done in the outreach. But once the project starts to get closer to say like plan commission or these other more major milestones, we'll ask them to either come to this meeting or maybe just do an open public meeting that anyone can register for and give updates and let everyone know where the project is currently stands. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about that, but I also just kind of open it up broadly here, excuse me, too, in case you have questions about anything else that's relevant to city or corridor managers. And we've got some, let's see, got about 20 minutes left, so plenty of time to chat if anyone would like. Oh, and Caroline just dropped the survey links in the chat there as well.
Sorry, I had to step out for a second. Is there any update on the Roosevelt and Costner RFP?
Sorry, Richard. I was hoping that maybe we might have some news to share at this meeting, but I hate to just sound like a broken record here, but senior leadership at the department and just city leadership in general are still continuing to discuss, and there's nothing that I can share, but we are looking to have an announcement anytime now. I wish I could tell you more, but I think that we're working towards a place where that news will be coming out shortly. Anybody else? All right. Well, I'm not going to argue with getting out of here a little bit early today. So really somewhat of a light agenda. And I'm not sure if we'll be meeting in December. I think, I'm kind of just playing it by ear because, we're not in a place, and Richard, to your point, maybe we'll have, maybe we can present something on the, Roosevelt Costner selection. I would hope that we would have something that we could discuss, at that time. But I believe, this next meeting is going to fall like right in the middle of the holidays. So I'll take a look at the calendar and, expect that if we are going to hold the December meeting, that it's probably going to be on a different date than the usual date of, I think, the third or fourth Monday of the month. So just something to look out for. And like I said, I need to see what's kind of on on the agenda before we make a decision. Yeah, Caroline, Rochelle just put a question in the chat there.
Great question. Yes, we haven't totally figured out how that'll go, but we can absolutely share the results with the public. And I should mention as well, part of what we're going to use that survey for is to lead into a facilitated session kind of live in a roundtable like this that would really dig into the issues that kind of come to the top when we get those survey results back. So if it turns out that folks in North Lawndale are, really want to talk about, for instance, having more of the roundtables in person rather than virtual, then that would be something we would dig in on in a facilitated session. So this is kind of giving us the information we need to know what's really at the top of people's minds, what's most concerning or interesting to them. So we will both share the results of the survey with you all and kind of revisit the whole conversation as a group once we've seen some of those initial thoughts that folks have. Thank you for asking.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty bizarre that we're this far on in these meetings and we've still never met in person. I have had the chance to meet a lot of you in person just in some of the other public meetings that we've had and things like that. But plenty of people I haven't. Rodney, I don't think we've crossed paths in person.
Not face to face yet. No.
No.
One day soon. One day soon.
I've seen Jesse plenty of times, but yeah, I hope so too. Great. All right. Well, as always, thanks everyone for participating and coming and joining the meeting. And yeah, look for that follow-up email for me. That'll also have that survey link, flyer for the next Lawndale Line public meeting, and then just the meeting materials from today.
Okay.
So, okay. And everyone have a great holiday. Hope you're able to enjoy some time off with your families and catch up and relax. So,
all right. Yep.
All right.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Enjoy the holiday.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.